Welcome to the Fantasy Fanatic Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan, and today we are going to be going through the SGS Week 1 recaps. Might as well go through some Week 2 projections, too, if we have a little bit of time at the end, but I do actually have a special guest today. He is fully Jacksonated. He is a Honey Ho, former UCO Bronco, now former Gallagher worker, the man, the myth, the legend, Carson Callaby.
Let's go, boys.
He is in the building today. Thank you for joining.
Welcome to Live Links.
Yes, and this is brought to you by Live Links. One of the best, and real quick I will mention, it's one of the best phone calls you could ever make in your life. It'll change your life forever. And it's completely free if you act like a girl. So act like a girl today.
Shout out Coy Pendergraft.
All right. So we are going to go through these first couple matchups. Carson, how'd you feel about your team this week?
Man, I was about to have a heart attack yesterday. Ain't gonna lie to you. It was
a close match.
I mean,
it was a really close match.
Lived up to the hype. But luckily, Garrett Wilson had 4 catches on the first drive and then only like 2 after that. So I thought I was screwed for a while. Yeah,
Garrett Wilson was looking like he was going to have a big game coming in. But
no, happy with my team. Happy with my team. It was a good week 1. Not getting over our skis. We're staying hungry. Ready for week 2.
Are you concerned about Kincaid at all?
I mean, yes and no. I could not believe he only had 2 targets. But Josh Allen only threw the ball 23 times, which I feel like is, I mean, that's on the lower end for him. So
yeah, I feel like that's a low amount for Josh Allen, honestly. And I'm not too worried about Kincaid. I still think he might end up being a top 5 tight end at the end of the season. So
yeah, I mean, that's my hope.
Yeah, honestly, the only person I don't think is worth having on that team anymore is maybe Curtis Samuel. That's just me. But what about Mostert?
Dude, Mostert looked like a freaking grandpa out there. He literally looked like Raheem Slostert.
Yeah, I don't really know. That was very concerning to see that week 1 with him, bro. I would probably not start him next week just because of it. But
the thing is A-Chain, he's banged up, which Mostert is too.
Yeah, I don't know. If A-Chain's not good to go, then I think you definitely do start Mostert just for the hell of it. Because he will get the bulk of the work, and then you got Jeff Wilson too.
Mm-hmm. Hey, running backs, send the trades to me. Yeah. I'm all ears.
And there are a couple running backs, I think, on waivers you could go get too, like some handcuff guys. Mm-hmm. But other than that, a lot of the running backs are taken. So, but yeah, what about Christian Kirk? Christian Kirk kind of had a down week too for you.
Yeah, I'm worried about Kirk. There's so many weapons in that Jaguars offense. I mean, they've got Evan Ingram and, well, I guess Ridley's gone now. Who else did they add? Brian Thomas.
Yeah, Brian Thomas looked really good that first week. Had the touchdown. Yeah. That was a beautiful pass. I don't know if you saw that pass. That was
a
dot.
Was a crazy pass. But I think Kirk should put up more points moving forward, but it is concerning with how many weapons they have. He might just get overshadowed.
Yeah, and Gabe Davis too. They do also.
Yeah, Gabe Davis.
He led the team in receiving this week. So, but I like the team still. I think Lamar Jackson and Tyreek Hill on their own is going to absolutely carry. So.
Yeah, my team is very top-heavy.
I'm a big fan of Kenneth Walker now, too. Kenneth Walker's looking like he might be a top guy to start every week, running back-wise.
Good.
Definitely top 10 option, no doubt. Maybe top 5 at some point in the season if he keeps this up. But I do think he's hurt, too, so we'll see how that goes.
Everyone's getting hurt, man.
But yeah, what a matchup, though, man. Jace's team is pretty solid, and We were all kind of questioning the J.K. Dobbins pick, but, you can't really question it now after that first week. That was an amazing week for him, and he might be the top guy with the Chargers going forward. So
I don't know how he couldn't be. Gus Edwards looked bad.
he looked really bad.
Dobbins might have slammed the door shut.
Yeah. The only thing stopping Dobbins is if he gets hurt, to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens with that. If he stays healthy, he's probably going to be one of the surprises of this year's fantasy season if he stays healthy. So I'd think him having Javonte Williams is no bueno.
Yeah. I think McLaughlin's better than him, personally.
I think McLaughlin might take over the backfield. So we'll see what happens with that. Because they did split. I think McLaughlin had 2 more carries than him, and he was getting involved in the passing game more. So definitely a concern for Javonte.
We've got to talk about Marvin Harrison. What in the world was that?
I really do think that, and I don't really, I just don't really have an opinion on it. I was kind of shocked for sure.
1 catch for 4 yards.
He was wide open in the end zone at that end of the game, and Kyler just did not see him. If he would have found him on that, we would not be talking about him only having 1 catch. And we'd be like, okay, it wasn't a bad fantasy performance, but he only got, 2 targets in that game?
3 targets.
3 targets in that game?
I was shocked by that. I thought Kyler would be feeding Harrison.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I think Greg Dortch led the team in targets. He was either him or McBride. So
he was feeding Greg Dortch. I wouldn't panic on Harrison yet, but
no,
that was pretty shocking.
Very interesting. Yeah, that was very interesting. I would still. Our Mark Andrews is obviously a big surprise too, but he has Isaiah Likely, so that's not really a loss for him.
We also need to talk about Likely acting like he was dead and then getting back in the play, almost making the game-winning catch. Come on, Likely.
It was nuts.
What are we doing there?
Yeah, it was nuts, to say the least. That was pretty crazy. But now Jace has a tough decision. Who are you starting this week? I think you start Likely.
You have to.
I think you have to. So
after 21 points from Likely, he was Lamar's favorite target. Mark Andrews got 2 targets.
Yeah, that was very concerning. He just looked like more of a fucking left tackle that game compared to anything else. So
2 targets versus 12 for Likely.
Yeah, a couple concerns for Jace's team for sure. Yes, they put up a decent amount of points, but let's talk about how the Bears defense put up 27. That's crazy. And then Josh Allen just doing Josh Allen things. So, hey, good dub for you, man. That was a huge win. Starting off the season 1-0. We could talk about my matchup now since my team played terrible this week, man. I have no excuses at all. I wasn't expecting Jamar Chase to have a big week just because of the whole holdout situation, him only practicing for 2 days. Mm-hmm. And then very shocked with Drake London for sure. First week, I would have thought that he'd get more involved in this offense, but he didn't. The leading target on this team was, what's that dude's name?
Was it Mooney?
No, it wasn't Mooney. It was here, let me go and see real quick. Oh, this is college football, damn it. Oops.
Yeah, like you said with Chase, he's still got 6 targets and caught all 6 balls. He's still clearly Burrow's number 1.
Yeah, Ray McLeod led the team in targets and receiving yards this week, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, just a random dude. So
I like James Cook moving forward.
I do
Brady's
too.
Running the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see more work out of the receiving game.
Yeah,
James Cook, but
I hope he does get involved more in the receiving game. But that first game was very interesting, just how much they spread the ball around. So
yeah,
I don't really. You don't really know who's a solidified number 1 on that offense yet. But Keon Coleman looked pretty good. So, as well as Shakir. Shakir got that late touchdown, which was huge. So and I have him on my bench. So I was
Yeah, you have a
actually really
solid
satisfied
bench.
with Tony Pollard this week. Tony Pollard was probably the surprise of the week for me, on my team at least. Looking like he might – I mean, he definitely led the team in carries and
Oh, yeah.
had that big touchdown. So I think there's some optimism with him going forward. Laporta kind of disappointed, but honestly, a lot of the tight ends disappointed this week, so I'm not like too concerned.
The tight ends just, I mean, it was pretty shocking. I mean,
Yeah.
going into the draft, we feel like there's 8, 9, 10 tight ends that are game changers, and almost none of them put up double-digit points.
None of them. It was
I mean,
very interesting to see the tight ends play this week. It won't be like this every week, but just to see it start, definitely have some concerns for certain guys. I'm not really concerned about Laporta. I still think he'll be a huge option in this offense for him.
Well, what I'm keeping my eye on is a lot of teams are going to the 2 tight end formations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be what's causing a little bit of dip in targets and usage for, your what you think were going to be high usage tight ends. So
Yeah. Kind of like Kincaid.
Overreact, but yeah.
Kind of like Mark Andrews, for example, too.
Mark Andrews likely. I mean, Kincaid and Dawson Knox.
Yeah. Now, Swift kind of worries me for sure. The Chicago offense did not look good that first game. Like, they looked terrible. Like, it wasn't the offense that won them that game. So
I can't believe it was real quiet from those Bear Fags on Sunday. Real quiet.
Yeah. Caleb Williams only throwing like 89 passing yards is not good. But, hey, their defense got them the win, so a win's a win. And then we look at Andy's team. Andy's team did pretty good this week. I mean, he's got really good running backs. We could start with that. I mean, Josh Jacobs, Rashad White, Jerome Ford, all really solid guys. Jerome Ford's going to be like he's kind of a sleeper pick this year. Yeah, Nick Chubb's going to come back, but these first few weeks, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He does have Nick Chubb waiting, so like he's pretty much set up like with the Cleveland backfield, and Jerome Ford's like going to really be valuable these first few weeks while Nick Chubb is out.
Well, and he's got Jordan Mason on the bench. I mean, obviously he wasn't planning on starting him this week because no one knew McCaffrey was out, but
you could maybe start him if McCaffrey's out, but like, dude, these 3 running backs are honestly must-start running backs every week in a way.
Yeah.
But you look at Tampa Bay, and they had Bucky Irving involved in that offense a lot for some reason, but Rashad White's still going to be getting a lot of catches out of the backfield, so definitely can't worry about that too much. And I mean, CD had a down game, but Chris Godwin had a great game. And then you get 21 points from your kicker. I mean, that's crazy. So
yeah. I mean, Andy's team was just very solid across the board.
Very solid overall. They had a great performance. Now, and he's got Bucky Irving on his bench, too. We forgot to mention that. He's got 2 handcuff backs on his team.
I mean, Andy is RBU.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm going to be sending Andy some trade requests. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a lot of solid running backs, man. And, I mean, the 2 wide receivers he has, Adonai Mitchell could have had a good game if Anthony Richardson would have thrown some better balls to him because he was wide open on a lot of long plays, and he didn't get –
he had multiple touchdowts that
didn't have a chance of catching them. So he's got a future for sure. He might end up being number 2 with Indy. So, good win for Andy. I mean, my team just was absolutely embarrassing this week, but Andy's team's looking really good after week 1. He's got Trey McBride, too. I do like Andy's team a lot going forward.
Good job, Andy. Good job, Pokes.
Now we're going to go to – we're going away from the Pokes on this one. Seth's team, which unfortunately injuries for sure are the reason I think that he lost mostly this week. Basically his 2 top guys. Two top guys on his team for sure getting hurt kind of sucks. I mean, no T. Higgins and then Puka getting hurt early in that game. Are you concerned with Seth's team going forward with these 2 injuries going on right now?
Well, Puka going on IR is definitely concerning. I'm not sure about T. Higgins. Do you
T.
know
Higgins is.
the extent of his injury?
I really don't know with T. Higgins, and this is kind of like how he's been like every year. He always has like some lingering injury, and you just don't know if he's going to be available the next week. He's just that happens to him a lot. I've noticed. So
He does have Judy on his bench as a receiver who put up 10 points, had 8 targets. So
he
that's
has a
someone
role
you
in
can
that Cleveland
count on.
offense. Yeah, he definitely
Yeah.
does. But
So,
I'd say looking at his team that it was really good to see like Brian Robinson have a great game. He played really good. But obviously Eckler he has a big role in this offense too. So I wouldn't expect. I mean, he has both of them, which is crazy too.
starting 2 running backs on the same team,
Yeah.
bold strategy. I mean, hey, it worked out for him on
It
Sunday.
did. It did. I mean, Eckler didn't have like an absolute terrible game, but he didn't play good
Something
either.
to monitor moving forward.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor had a little bit of a disappointing week. Obviously, Joe Burrow did too. Kelsey did. But going forward, I mean, he's going to have to figure out what he's going to do at wide receiver. And then, I mean, obviously that flex spot, I don't even know if you flex Austin Eckler next week now. You could.
I mean, you kind of have to.
He might have to if
Puka's
T. Higgins is out, yeah.
If
So-
Puka's out and T. Higgins are both out, you have to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of monitor his team, but that really sucks for him having those injuries happen so early. And then Dylan's team popped off. Just honestly, 2 players popped off. Anthony Richardson and Joe Mixon both had monster games. Joe Mixon's looking like he could be a really good running back. He has definitely top 10 potential this year after
That's
that performance he put up.
Unbelievable how good Dylan's team did, considering he had 2 players play good.
Yeah.
And everybody else was a complete bust besides kicker. I guess Zach Moss played good. So
Yeah,
3 of
Zach
his
Moss looked really good
6
too.
guys.
Got that touchdown. Looks like he's going to lead the team in carries going forward for right now, but Chase Brown is still kind of there a little bit.
But look at his defense. I mean, he's got a deep team. He's got.
Oh, no. Where'd he go? Hello?
You hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but all right. Easy fix. So you're saying, what were you talking about with his team?
Well, he's got a deep team. I mean, he's got McConkey, Jamison Williams, and McLaughlin all on his bench. So if his guys do keep disappointing, I mean, he's got some replacements there.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a pretty deep bench. One of the deeper benches in our league, if you consider. I mean, a lot of these benches are, with a 14-team league, it's hard to have a lot of great depth on your bench, but his looks pretty good. I think he for sure needs to drop Cole Kmet and maybe Pierre Strong. I don't think those guys are worth having anymore. Cole Kmet's snap counts went down significantly. So I would probably drop him personally. And then Evan Engram looked a little concerning first week, but
I think he led the team in targets.
Evan Engram did? He had 4.
He had 4 targets, and I'm pretty sure that
I think everyone on that team had like 4 targets or something like that. It was
Trevor
very
was just
spread
spraying
out.
the ball around.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, his team looks good. Anthony Richardson's looking like a really good QB to have every week to start with his rushing abilities. I wouldn't be too concerned about Amon-Ra. I think that was just a fluke game for him. I think he'll come back strong next week. And then I think Devontae Adams will have some stronger games going forward too. But yeah, that was a big win for Dylan. He goes to 1-0 on the season.
I'm still mad at Dylan for burning my leg. I'll never forget it.
I had a dude just ask me on here. I just saw it. He said Devontae Adams and A-Chain for Diggs and Monty. Who wins?
mean, this past week, Montgomery and Diggs for sure outperformed, but moving forward, I mean, Achan's just so
I don't think you get rid
up
of
and down.
Devontae and A-Chain, honestly.
Yeah.
No, I
Um,
think you keep both of them. I think Diggs, he would have not had a good week if he didn't get those 2 touchdowns.
yeah.
So, and
hmm
then Montgomery, yes, he's going to be a big part of this offense, but I like A-Chain more than Montgomery. And then Diggs and Adams are kind of even to me. So, I think just because A-Chain has more upside than Montgomery, I'd probably just keep A-Chain personally. But that's just me.
I agree.
Um,
Good word.
Next matchup, we got Kyle and Connor, and man, Connor's team popped off this week. I mean, 143 points is crazy. I mean, you look at, I mean, it kind of started off with Saquon. Saquon had a monster game. Looks like he might be a top 5 running back going forward easily if he stays healthy. And then Stevenson with a huge game too. That was awesome to watch. And then you got Stephon Diggs with the 2 touchdowns, had a big game. And then the majority of his other points came from his defense and his kicker. I mean, Jake Moody fucking made like 6 field goals last night. So,
Yeah.
huge week for him. How you feel about Connor's team
Well,
going
Connor's
forward?
team looks good. The one thing I worry about is putting up this many points on the commissioner week 1. You might have some bad karma coming for you, Connor. Um, we'll see where that goes, but the team looks good. Brock Bowers outperformed his projection. Surely Olave will do better in the future. I mean, the Panthers are such a disgrace. They just ran the ball for 90% of that game after it was out of hand. So um, I like where Connor's team is at. Saquon looks like a game changer.
Yeah, Saquon looks like a huge part of this team going forward. And then, yeah, Olave, you're a little concerned about him after only having 2 targets in such a high-scoring game like that, but I do think he will still have some strong weeks, so I wouldn't be too concerned about him yet. And then Brock Bowers performed better than the majority of the tight ends that were going before him this week,
Mm-hmm.
so it's good to see that as well. He's going to have a pretty big role in this offense. I think he led the team in targets this week too, so
Well, and look at Keenan Allen. He had 11 targets.
yeah, Keenan Allen had 11 targets, so he had a lot of volume.
Mm-hmm.
But and also if Rome Odunze, I think he's week to week. So if Keenan Allen's healthy, which I think he didn't he get hurt too? No, he didn't. Okay, I'm tripping. Um, no, he didn't get hurt. But yeah, I mean if Rome Odunze is going to be out next week, I think Keenan's stock definitely goes up for next week. So his team looks good. He doesn't have bad bench spots either. I mean, Jalen Warren was not healthy coming into this week, so that's kind of why he didn't do much. And then Jacoby Myers has a pretty big role on this Vegas offense. I think he led the team in receiving yards. And then Darnell Mooney at some point I think will have some value. I don't really know what to put him at, honestly. But I think he'll definitely have a role in this offense going forward. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Connor's team looks pretty solid. What about Kyle's team? What you thinking about Kyle's team after the first week? Very concerned with Zamir White. I don't really know if Zamir White is a guy I would start next week after seeing what Alexander Madison did on that team. But he does have some guys he could easily flex over him on his bench.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, Keon Coleman looks like a good play. I think Kyle's team played pretty well. I mean, Caleb Williams, you just can't have 9 points from your quarterback. So surely he'll put up more around 20 points moving forward. And obviously Jake Ferguson gets hurt, goes down early in the game. So, I mean, if Caleb Williams comes back to form, hopefully Ferguson's not out long. And then, yeah, just swap out White for Coleman. I mean, he's got a pretty good team, I think.
yeah, I mean, he's really good at receiver. Jalen Waddle and Justin Jefferson's a great combo to have on this team, especially after. I mean, Justin Jefferson definitely will have better games in this going forward. And the Minnesota offense actually did not look bad at all this week.
No,
So,
Darnold was slinging that thing.
yeah, Darnold looked really good that first week, and then Waddle had a big game. Now, Jake Ferguson is hurt. I don't know if he's going to be fully ready for next week. He's apparently working out, but I don't really know if he's going to be available. So he's probably going to have to go pick up a tight end this week.
But yeah, putting up 96 points with your quarterback throwing for 9 and Ferguson getting hurt, going down with 3 points. I mean, those will kind of average out as time goes, and you won't be playing someone putting up 144 every week. So,
and I
still like Kyle's team.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about the running backs either. James Conner had a great game. He's going to be the lead back going forward as long as he's healthy. And then Travis Etienne, you are kind of a little concerned seeing how much of a role Tank Bigsby had in this offense on Sunday. But Etienne, I think, still is the guy going forward. I think he's still going to be the guy who gets the goal line work. So Travis Etienne still has a lot of fantasy value going forward. But you do see in Tank Bigsby leading the team in rushing. That is kind of a little bit of a concern going forward, but I still think Etienne's the guy here. So, but I wouldn't be too concerned with Kyle's team. But Connor's team just popped off this week, so big week for him. We got Bert and Bryce up next. Looking at Bert's team, man, Jaden Daniels with a huge. I mean, dude, he's going to be He's going to be a really good fantasy quarterback going forward. I think with his rushing ability, especially.
Yeah, and they'll be playing from behind in most games. The commies just don't have the horses, so they'll be throwing that thing a lot.
Yeah.
So I like Daniels as your fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, he's going to be running the ball a lot too. They just don't have a lot of weapons on offense, like wide receiver wise. So I mean, all you really have is Terry McLaurin. None of these other guys are proven to be good yet. So that is really the only concern. But that just also boosts his rushing abilities because I think he ran the ball a lot that game and got 2 touchdowns out of it. So that was huge. Are you concerned about Derrick Henry at all going forward?
No, because I think the Ravens' offense is going to be really good, and he's going to get all that goal line work. So he won't be carrying the ball 25 times like he has in Tennessee, but I think he'll have a lot more chances to score a touchdown.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, obviously he'll be the goal line guy. So he'll get those touchdowns for sure. And Jahmyr Gibbs, he had a good game. Now, that role that he has in Detroit, we thought that it would go up more and Montgomery's would go down, but apparently that didn't happen. It looks like it's the exact same. So, But either way, both of those guys are must-start guys going forward regardless. And also, man, Bert's team has honestly had a boost with the Puka Nacua injury and having Cooper Kupp. So Cooper Kupp's about to be most likely a top 5 wide receiver going forward for the next couple weeks just because of the amount of targets he gets. I mean, I was talking about it yesterday. 21 targets is nuts.
That's unbelievable.
That is nuts. So he's going to be getting all the volume on offense. So he's going to be having some big weeks going forward. Malik Neighbors is obviously the top guy with the Giants. Only concern is just the Giants' offense. Their offense looked terrible. And then he's got Jaden Reed on his bench. George Pickens had a good game. He's got Brian Thomas on his bench. And Rashid Shaheed had a breakout game, too, with that big touchdown. So, I mean, he's got a decent bench as well. He's got guys that he could flex at any moment, any week. So, his team looks really solid. What about Bryce's team? What do you think about Bryce's performance this week? I don't think he played bad either.
No. I mean, Kyler, especially after the way he started, 17 points doesn't seem up to par. I mean, he was throwing dots for the first quarter and a half, and then seemed like the Bills kind of turned it on a little bit. But yeah, I think his team looks good. I am worried about Ridley and Schultz. But besides that, I like his team a lot.
Yeah. And you're concerned about Schultz just because of how many weapons they have wide receiver-wise on that team. Yeah. You knew he was going to take a dip in targets this year. And then, Ridley is a concern just because we're not really sure what to expect from Tennessee's offense. They did not look good in that game. And he will be the number one guy going forward So he could still have some pretty decent games, but just because of how terrible their offense looks, he doesn't have as much value as some other guys going forward. And you could honestly say the same about DJ Moore too, just because of how bad their offense looked against Tennessee this past week.
I expect a little bit of positive regression there.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely be better.
Yeah, their offense can't be that bad all year.
Not going forward. I wouldn't believe so. But his running backs played great. I wasn't high on Aaron Jones this year, but Aaron Jones proved me wrong this week. He had a great week. Ty Chandler obviously does have a role in this offense too, but Aaron Jones is the main guy. So he'll continue to put up some pretty decent numbers if he stays healthy, and then A-Chain's obviously going to be really good. And then his bench isn't bad either. Wan'Dale Robinson had the most targets on the Giants offense this past week. Justin Hill had a pretty decent role in this offense for the Ravens. He was very heavily involved in the passing game. And then Jackson Smith-Njigba, yes, a disappointing week, but definitely a guy worth holding on to for the future. And, I mean, he has T.J. Hawkinson on his bench. Whenever T.J. Hawkinson comes back, I think he's probably someone you'd start over Schultz whenever he's back healthy.
Definitely. Well, and for the time being, I mean, if tight ends are going to keep disappointing, then Schultz is probably just a wash. It's not that big of a deal.
Exactly.
So.
All right, now we got the lowest scoring. Big week for Bert, though. Good win for him. We're going into the lowest scoring game of this week. Jack and Chance. Looking at Chance.
Out for Jack real fast. I mean, the 49ers announcing McCaffrey inactive an hour before the game on a Monday night, so he has no other replacements, is pretty tough.
Yeah, no replacements because obviously Jordan Mason wasn't available. So you can't just pick him up real quick. But he can't drop anyone either, so he has no choice. So. He can't do anything. So that really sucked for him. I will agree. And then Mike Williams having basically no role the first week, too, is another concern. Just didn't do anything. I
mean, was he even on the field? I don't even remember him.
He was on the field, yes. I don't know how many snaps he played, but he definitely was on the field. I did see him on the broadcast while he was on the field. So,
yeah, that's just tough for Jack. I mean, you lose by 18 points. I mean, McCaffrey that's 50-50 if McCaffrey wins you that week or not. So, I'd probably just chalk that up to being unlucky and move forward.
Yeah, that was just an unlucky week for him. And, I mean, hey, you can't be disappointed in how Kamara or Evans played. They both had really good games this week. And then he's got a few guys on his bench that have a little bit of value. I know Rome Odunze's hurt. Michael Wilson had a touchdown, but he didn't get a lot of targets.
I'll tell you what, Zeke looked good to me. I thought he looked quicker.
Yeah.
He got out of those dang New England Patriots, had him in a chokehold up there, and he got back down to Dallas, and he's excited. He's ready to go.
Yeah, Zeke had a good week, man. It's cool to see him come back and actually do really well, get that touchdown, and
I think he's a decent flex play.
I think he is too. I think you definitely flex him until you see any sort of downplay from him, and then maybe Rico Dowdle has better weeks going forward. We'll kind of see how that goes. But for right now, I think Zeke's definitely for sure you could flex him, no doubt. And then we look at Chance's team. I mean, his running backs played great this week. Breece Hall, David Montgomery both had great games. Receivers were a little concerning. But they're not going to be like this every week, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Ayuk, obviously, he played a lot of snaps, just didn't get a lot of targets. Pittman had the most targets on the team, just didn't get a lot of catches. They only threw the ball 19 times. Don't forget that. And then Zay Flowers, I mean, I think going forward, I mean, he could have had a touchdown in this game easily, so, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about Zay Flowers either. His team looks solid.
Yeah, 10 targets for Flowers, and they were giving it to him on jet sweeps, screen plays. He's going to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
He's a good have for
So
chance.
his team's looking good, and that's who I'm playing next week. So going forward, his team looks pretty good. Bench wise, his team, he just has a lot of handcuff backs. Basically, Alexander Madison might actually be worth a flex spot at some point. I wouldn't flex him next week, but I mean, with the players he has, but I mean, Madison might have some value going forward if he ends up somehow being the number one back here, which it almost kind of looks like he could be. And then I think Addison got hurt, ankle injury, so we'll see if he's going to be available. But yeah, big win for Chance. I'll see you next week, buddy. Hopefully I can freaking play better. And then our last matchup, we got Easton and Tuck. Tuck kind of had a strong start to the week with all the Chiefs players that he started. So pretty strong week for him to start off with. How you liking Tuck's team so far?
Well, if the Chiefs are who we think they are, he's gonna have a really good year. I think I was looking at projections earlier, and he's projected like 119 points next week, which I thought was crazy.
Damn.
For a 14-team league, but I mean, every one of his guys gets a lot of work. The only one I'm still a little iffy on is Pitts, just because I have some past heartbreak there. So just a little bias for me, but he did catch a touchdown last week, and I mean, Tucky, he doesn't even watch football, but he might have the best team in our league. So
he could easily.
Props to him.
He's got great wide receivers. Xavier Worthy had a monster performance to start the year off. 2 touchdowns. He looks
Xavier
really
Worthy's
good.
a bust.
Pacheco looked really good. Kyron Williams had a decent game. Didn't meet his projection, but still a decent game for him. And then Najee Harris, for right now, does not look bad. Doesn't look great, but definitely a guy, if Jaylen Warren isn't fully healthy still, you could definitely start. We'll kind of see how that goes next week. They're using Cordell Patterson in their offense, too, which is just weird.
Arthur Smith is a disgrace.
It is weird to me. And then he's got a pretty decent bench. I like Leggett a lot for the future. I mean, Carolina's offense is terrible, but Leggett looks like he could have a big role in this offense going forward. Lockett had a pretty big week. Brandon Cooks had a good week. Really, the only guy disappointed on his bench is Hopkins. I mean, we don't know what to expect from him this year. He wasn't fully healthy coming in this game, I think, but I don't really know what to expect from Hopkins this year. Definitely still worth keeping on your bench, but I'm not too sure about him going forward. Then we go to Easton's team. What's the thoughts that you have on Easton's team going forward? I like his wide receivers a lot.
Yeah. Well, my thought on Easton, maybe not his team, is I'm not sure Easton's cut out for fantasy. If he's already popping pills and, calling the suicide hotline on a Thursday night, I mean, it's a long season, buddy. Lock in.
Gotta lock in, man. I mean, this is fantasy for you. You can't overreact after the first week. And Bijan, I think it's only up from here for him. I think for him having that kind of performance with how terrible their offense looked, he still played pretty decent. Now, obviously, some concern for Singletary. I don't really know if he's going to be having a lot of value going forward. But, I mean, he has kind of no choice but to start him until maybe Jonathan Brooks comes back. Then
I like Easton's team, though. Nico Collins is a dog. Jalen Hurts is a great fantasy QB.
Yep.
Rashee Rice might be Patty Mahomes' favorite target. He's got some upside.
100%. I mean, his team looks good, and even with DK having a down week, I think DK will have some strong weeks going forward, but his team doesn't look bad.
No.
I mean, doesn't have a lot of depth on the bench. He has a lot of handcuff backs. Charbonnet looked pretty good last week. Amari Cooper led the team in targets, but only had 2 points. That's kind of a concern, just because I'm not really that big of a Deshaun Watson believer. But he also did get sacked like 6 times, so the offensive line's not really helping keep Deshaun Watson protected. But yeah, I wouldn't be too worried. I mean, this is just first week. We can't overreact on anyone's team's first week of the fantasy season. So, but
Hang in there, E.
you got it, E. Don't take it too personally, man. You'll have some good weeks going forward, I'm sure.
Well, I will say I do appreciate the life or death attitude from Easton. I'd like to think that we all feel that internally, but Easton's he's really showing that he cares. So
which is
I
huge.
appreciate that.
Didn't really get that from some other guys.
No, we won't name names, but
Yeah, we we won't name names, but yeah, he is a great addition. So Easton, I'm glad you're in our fantasy league, man. I think you were a great guy to add in here. So
absolutely.
All right, do you want to go through what do you want to go through next? You want to try to figure out who the winners are this week, real quick? You want to do that?
Well, are we talking winners from like a specific player aspect, or just for fantasy managers?
I think let's do fantasy managers. So like the winner of this week and the loser of this week. Who do you think's the winner of this week after looking at week one? Who do you?
I think it's got to be Connie.
Yeah,
it has to be. We, in Bryce's rankings, he was towards the bottom of the barrel, and I mean that might have lit a fire under his team. So I mean he's got to be the winner. 144 points. Props to him.
Yeah, you can't just ignore 144 points being on the board. So yeah, I agree. I think Connor definitely is the winner of this week. Had a big performance. I think if I was going to put someone second, I'd probably put Bert just because his team looks really good going forward. I think it's a huge win for him having Puka out. So, and then obviously, do we put the loser of this week either being Jack, me, or Seth? I mean, which one would you say is the loser of this week? Because we all had injuries on our teams happen. So
yeah, in terms of this week, I'm going Jack. Because I'd be pretty pissed off at Roger Goodell, at the 49ers. I mean, it was not his fault at all that McCaffrey just, wasn't able to play, and there was no update on him beforehand. So
yeah, I agree. I think just because of the fact that Jack had these just last minute injuries happen, just fucked his whole week up. Yeah. So I will say that sucks. So I think that definitely puts him as a loser for this week. Now, for the long-term future, you could maybe say Seth, just because Puka being out for that long is going to suck for his top pick of the draft this year. So that really sucks. But I don't think if T. Higgins comes back, he shouldn't be worried too much. And then so right now,
well, and Seth is not helping his case of having a kid really affects your fantasy performance. So we'll see if he can rally around it. But
yeah, the Pokes won this week. They got the most wins in the league this week. Congrats to the Pokes. 3-4. So 4 wins for the Pokes, 3 wins for the Sooners. So Pokes are looking better college football wise right now too. So y'all are looking pretty solid after that crazy game against Arkansas. That was a crazy game, bro. That was wild.
I also wanted to bring this up, and I talked to a couple people about it last night, but what do we think about a side bet each week? $10 per person, OSU versus OU, and whoever wins the Bedlam matchup, you just send your $10 to whoever your partner is or whoever it is. I think that'd be a fun little team side bet for fantasy.
That would be 100% for like people playing against each other.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If I'm playing against you, and say even if I win, but then the OU team beats OSU overall, like I'd still send you $10.
Yeah, got you. I'm up for that. That would be fun. That'd make it more interesting for sure.
Just a thought.
All right, let's look at these projections. Who's number 1 right now? Connor, for sure. Connor's team's number 1. Tuck's 2.
Yeah, let's go.
Tuck's 2. Andy's 3. Dylan's 4. Bert's 5. You're 6. Chance is 7. Easton's 8.
Who's your early candidate for matchup of the week?
Matchup of the week this week?
Yeah.
Let's go look. Honestly, dude, you and Andy's matchup's gonna be really good. That one sticks out so far to me. I think Tuck and Bert is gonna be another great matchup too.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably those two. I'd say those two kind of stand out the most.
I mean, we're super high on Bert's team, but I mean, Tuck just looks loaded. So I think it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate his week 1 performance.
100%. 100%.
Bert versus Tuck, baby.
Yeah, looking at the injury side of things for Andy, he has no one questionable. You have 3 people questionable, but I'm sure Lamar Jackson, Kenneth Walker will play. We'll see about Mostert. I'm not too sure about him yet. He's a non-participant in practice Monday. It's a chest injury. Kenneth, no update on him. And then I didn't even know Lamar got hurt.
I know. I'm
sore.
I think they just make them up sometimes.
Yeah. But, I mean, looking at matchups, Lamar's taking on Vegas, and then C.J. Stroud's taking on Chicago. I'd probably say C.J. Stroud's got the tougher matchup after seeing how good the Bears defense played last week. Rashad White, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's playing New England. New England's defense looked really good that first week. Detroit's defense looked good too, in a way. They did give up a lot of yards, but they didn't look too bad. Indy and Buffalo for Jacobs, and then Mostert's got Buffalo, CD, New Orleans, Tyreek, Buffalo. This is going to be a good matchup, man. I'm excited to see how this turns out.
I know. I think it could come down to tight ends. McBride versus Kincaid. So I'm really hoping Kincaid can turn it around a little bit. Maybe it'll be a shootout, Bills versus Dolphins. So I'd like to see Josh Allen air it out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think he will too, especially against Miami. It's going to probably be a high-scoring game, I believe. So,
yeah.
And then obviously CD versus Tyreek, that's going to be fun to watch too. See who puts up the most points out of those two guys. And then got Godwin and Debo, who both had strong weeks this week as well. So, but
matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be a good matchup, man.
I'm coming for you, Timmy.
That is going to be a great matchup. Tuck, how many points is he projected? 119? Golly.
Is that not crazy?
That is
nuts. That might be the most that I've ever seen in our league.
I wish it would show me which players are projected so many points. It's got to be Pacheco and Kyron and Mahomes leading the way.
I think maybe if you click on his team, it'll tell you. No.
That's so weird. It doesn't show you on here, but it shows you on the app.
I know, it is strange.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good matchup, man. I think. Looking at the receiver side of things, I think Bert, just because of Cooper Kupp's ascendance, and I think I would expect a better week from Malik Neighbors going against Washington. I think he might have a little bit more of an upside with the receivers, but because I don't want to overreact too much about Xavier Worthy having those 2 touchdowns first week.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he had another 2-touchdown game this next week. So
I mean, he had no volume.
Yeah, that was the concern.
And 2 touchdowns.
He had 3 targets, 2 receptions, 47 yards. So, now I do think that Tuck has the upper hand with the running backs in a way. And then I would take Mahomes over Jaden Daniels, but I mean Jaden Daniels against the Giants defense, I think he could still run the ball all over him too. So that'll be interesting to watch.
True.
He's probably still going to flex Pickens, I would believe. He could maybe throw Brian Thomas in there. I wouldn't throw Jaden Reed in there just because Jordan Love's probably going to be out. But probably keep Pickens in over Brian Thomas in my mind.
Yeah, I thought Pickens looked good.
Yeah, Pickens did look good. He's definitely the number one guy on that team. And if Justin Fields stays the QB, which I believe he will, I don't know yet. That's up in the air, I think. So, matchup with Chance for me. I'm starting Goff this week, I think. I was thinking about maybe picking up Baker, but I kind of like having a stack with Goff and Sam Laporta this week, so I think I'm going to keep that. I don't have anyone to stack with Baker, so and then obviously the wide receivers are going to be the question here for me. Are they going to actually play good this week? I hope so. I hope Chase has a bigger week. I hope Drake London actually shows he's the top guy in this offense. And I'm for sure going to keep flexing Tony Pollard. I think I have no choice but to flex him. And then I could, if I wanted to, maybe flex Shakir over DeAndre Swift, but I might still keep DeAndre Swift in there. I'm kind of up in the air about that right now. So just after the terrible first week Swift had, but I don't want to overreact too much. I think he'll still get some volume in this offense. So
Right.
but yeah, this should be a good matchup. I think he definitely has the upper hand on me in running backs, and then wide receivers is kind of even right now. So
Yeah.
after looking the first week.
And
then
on paper, you should have the upper hand at receiver, but that's why you play the game.
I know. I'm changing defenses this week, too, after the Chiefs having a terrible start to the year. And they're playing Cincy, too. And, yeah, Cincy didn't look good that first week, but I wouldn't expect that next week. So I think I'm going to go with a different defense this week that has a better matchup so I can hopefully get some more points from that and not have negative points. So,
Yeah.
Kyle and Dylan. This will be a pretty good matchup, too. These are pretty dead even. I think, obviously, first week, I think Richardson over Caleb Williams all day. You look at the running backs, maybe lean towards Dylan a little bit after that first week with a pretty big week for Joe Mixon and then Zach Moss having a decent game, too. Now, I am curious to see what Kyle does on the flex spot. Is he going to flex Keon Coleman or Gabe Davis instead of Zamir White? I would personally, after seeing that terrible week Zamir White had. So,
well, and what does he do with tight end? Does Ferguson play? Does he have to go and get someone off waivers?
He's probably going to have to go get someone off waivers. I think I looked because I have Ferguson in one of my sleeper leagues. He hasn't been rolled out, but he has an MCL sprain and a bone bruise on his knee. So, I mean,
let's go see who's on waivers for tight end. Taysom Hill, Okonkwo, Juwan Johnson.
There's not really a lot of like guys that stick out to you.
There's not.
I mean, there's a couple tight ends that had some pretty decent weeks. I know Juwan Johnson had a touchdown. Okonkwo had a touchdown too this week. But, I mean, other than that, there's really no other guys that really pop out to me. I mean, Taysom Hill's not like a bad start just because of how versatile he is.
Right. He could go for 20 or he could go for 0.
Exactly. He's just a boom or bust type of tight end. So, and then I'm looking at the running backs. I think that there's definitely, I know Tank Bixby's available, so Tank Bixby might be a guy that people could go get if they wanted to, just because of the handcuff purposes. Other than that, there's not really any other running backs that have any value.
No.
But wide receiver's different. There's definitely some wide receivers that some people could go pick up this week. Quentin Johnson actually did not look bad. Could end up being the second guy on this offense after week 1. It looked like he was definitely involved a lot in the offense. And
Well, I'll
then
tell you what, Demarcus Robinson,
Demarcus Robinson
he
too.
had 7 targets, and
Yeah,
now Puka's out, so that's a good pickup.
so he might be number 2 going forward on that offense. So he definitely
Mhm.
has some value going forward. Greg Dortch is another guy too. Greg Dortch looked really good this
Right.
last week. Alan Lazard is available too, which he had a big game. I think that's really it. I don't
hmm
think there's any other guys that have any that are worth going and picking up.
Dortch is rostered in 1.6% of leagues.
Yeah, that's pretty
Crazy.
crazy. He's rostered in a lot more in the in sleeper,
Mm-hmm.
and then Demario Douglas is rostered in 42%, which is crazy. Josh Downs is 10%.
JB, what's your thoughts on Brissett versus Drake May? What's kind of your plan there?
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know yet, man. I don't mind starting Brissett right now because I mean he's a veteran QB. He's not a bad QB, you know, and he obviously played with us before, so he already had kind of some optimism coming in. Obviously, we do want to throw Drake May out there at some point. I feel like if Brissett has a bad game next week, I would. If he starts off the game very slow and looks terrible, throws a couple picks, I think you got to throw Drake May in there. But as long as we're winning games, I'm happy. So I think we actually do have somewhat of a chance. We play the Seahawks next week. So, I mean, I think that we could definitely – the Seahawks, honestly, they didn't look that great to me last week.
No, I was a little disappointed.
So, I mean, I feel like we definitely have a chance to win that game. We'll just kind of see. Hopefully our offense – hopefully we can have a better passing game next week. Our passing game didn't look that good. But Ramondre had a huge game that kind of carried us offensively. So, hopefully he can carry that load again. And I think our defense will definitely give the Seahawks problems. So – Christian Gonzalez is a dog.
Yeah.
He is a really good cornerback. So he's one of my favorite guys on the team right now.
Patriots turning heads, baby.
What about the Dallas plays the
We play the Saints.
Saints? That'll be an interesting game after the huge week the Saints had, but I think y'all will still win that game.
Yeah, I think the point spread's sitting around 6.5. If any of you are betting men, go and hammer the Cowboys. Just too much. Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl.
We'll see. Yeah, I think that y'all should win that game. Is it at Dallas too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, I think y'all should win that game.
I think we should, yeah. Should move to 2-0. We'll enjoy our time up until January.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good 12 o'clock slate on Sunday. You got Tampa Bay, Detroit, Indy, Green Bay, New York, Tennessee, San Francisco, Minnesota, Seattle, New England, New Orleans, Dallas, Giants, Commanders, Cleveland, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
There's some good games on for the noon slate. That's going to be fun. I'm excited.
I mean, Thursday, Bills-Dolphins. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that's a good game just to start the week off.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta, Philadelphia is the Monday night game.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago.
That's a little underwhelming for a Monday night.
Yeah, especially with after how the Falcons looked that first game. But hopefully they play a little bit better.
Bears on Sunday Night Football. Wow.
I know, second game of the year.
That's a little underwhelming too. Sorry for the Bears fans, but the Texans are 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. But it'll be interesting to see how the Bears respond offensively.
Mm-hmm. I think they'll play a little bit better, but that's a tough matchup for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see. I think it's definitely a tougher matchup than the Titans. So
yeah.
But dude, I think that's it, man. You want to talk about anything else, or you think that's about it? I think we can wrap it up.
I mean, I think that's all we got. I do want to say that I appreciate Seth's statement. I think that was good to put out there. But what you did right after that of sending the video of me was that kind of undid everything that you had just talked about. So just do better. Come on.
And I do want to also say that I'm happy that he apologized. I think he definitely was very vocal about not winning the league because of DeMar Hamlin. But hey, shit happens, man. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is, man. So very unfortunate.
Forever.
It'll always be there. It's always going to bother him. He'll still think about it until he's 40 something, but it'll still be there.
About that one day.
It'll still be there in his mind. I get it. It's tough, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So,
well, JB, thank you for hosting. It was a pleasure being on and talking ball with you.
Dude, I know. Thank you for coming on, man. We can definitely do this more often if you want. I do want to also get some other guests on here too, but we can definitely run this back again sometime soon. I'm glad I got all this shit figured out, how to get you on here. So,
let's do it.
Appreciate it, man. We will be back next week. I might throw another video or two up before the Sunday slate starts. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, bro.
Go
I will catch you later. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back sometime this week, and